Hey folks, so we're going to look again at some example questions from the homework packet. This is 8th grade math with Mr. Dell. And so I'm looking at the packet, and specifically I got asked about questions in this section, the two-step equations, as well as the solving proportions. So I'm going to, let's do number 69 and number 79. Okay, so those are the two that I'm going to go over today. All right, so number 69 says k plus 8 all divided by 3 equals -2. So as we talked about in the last video of solving equations, the goal is to get the k. What is that variable? What is that unknown? And again, there's times that maybe a guess and check method works just right, where you start guessing a number to see what number best fits in that k in order for that expression then to begin a -2. But in this case, I'll go ahead and show how we can do this using the steps. And the steps, again, are when we look at getting rid of everything except for that k, kind of isolating the k. I want to get down to where I have k by itself and a number over here so I know what the value of k is, right? So when we look at the operation occurring here, I've got an addition to k and a division, but this is the part where I have all of this divided by 3. So that's the first thing I need to actually get rid of, because I can't subtract 8 from this because it's all initially divided by 3. So in this situation, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. That's going to be my first step. So it's as if I'm taking 3 over 1 and multiplying it by that fraction k plus 8 all over 3. And so the 3's here cancel out. And now I'm left with k plus 8 equals -6. And then now I can go ahead and eliminate the 8 by subtracting 8 by both sides. And I see the 8's cancel out. And I'm left with, because a positive 8, -8 cancel, I'm left with now my k by itself. And -6 and -8 is -14. And this is where it's nice to do a check just in case you made a mistake along the way. You think you have an answer. It's always good to check to see if you do. So in place of the k, because I want to see if this is a true statement, in place of the k, I'm going to put that -14. So -14 plus 8 all divided by 3. Does it equal -2? That's the question, right? So that's what we're trying to see. Did k equal -14? So when I add the -14 and the 8, I get -6 over 3. And -6 divided by 3 is -2. So it does check out. I end up here with -2 is equal to -2. So -6 divided by 3 is -2. -2 equals -2. So we're good to go. It checks. So sure enough, that is the right answer. So that was number 69. So let's look at number 79. Number 79 is a proportion, and it's written as 6 over 8 equals 21 over b. It's called a proportion because you've got two ratios, and a ratio, reminder, a ratio is a fraction, is a fractional statement or a comparison of two numbers, two things. So this is 6 to 8. What is 6 to 8 as 21 to b? So what is that b? In order for this to be an equivalent ratios, that ratio equals that ratio, I want to look at it as what I need to get for b. There are really a lot of ways to solve this. So the first one I want to actually do is just kind of see if you can just see it with me. Well, 6 over 8, that actually does simplify, does it not? If I take 6 over 8 and I actually look at it again as dividing out the giant 1, right? What would that giant 1 be in this case? I would divide out by a common multiple, which is 2 over 2. So when I divide out 2 over 2, I end up with it being 3 over 4. So this is an equivalent fraction. 6/8 is the same thing as 3/4. So if I rewrite this proportion with, instead of 3/4, it's 6/8. Excuse me. Instead of 6/8, I'm writing 3/4. Now maybe you can see what B would be, right? Because you can see the relationship here. A proportion is just two similar or equal ratios. So 3 over 4 is the same as 21 over what? Well, if we look at what would be the multiplier here? What would be that giant 1? What would I get if I went from 3/4 and I'm going to multiply it by a giant 1? What would that giant 1 be to end up with the number of that comes out to be this 21, right? So what it would be is if I multiply by 7, 3 times 7 is 21. So if I do the same thing, multiply the bottom by 7, that's 28. So what does that say? Well, that says B is equal to 28. So that's one way of looking at it. If that's possible to simplify any of the fractions to maybe see the relationship, that works. Or another method would be to take this, and I'll do it over here, 6 over 8 equal 21 over B. Another way to get there when you're dealing with proportions or ratios is to do it's what they call cross multiply, and that only works when you have two equal ratios where they're basically in that fractional form. So cross multiply is taking, and this is a little bit of a math trick, if you will. So it only works if, like I said, if there are two equal ratios. In this case, it is. So 21 times 8 is 160. Oops, 168. And then you do the same thing. You multiply that 6 times the B, and it would be 6B. And then I can go ahead, and now I've got a little a nicer one-step equation where I can divide both sides by 6. And so B would equal, well, 6 goes into 168 28 times. Okay, so a couple ways to come up with the answer. Just wanted to see them both. There's actually another, but we'll stop the video here. And all right.